Just imagine this. It's late 11:30 p.m., February 10th, 2026. You're at El Paso International Airport, maybe waiting to board, maybe you're on the tarmac, and then out of nowhere, an order comes down. The entire sky is being shut down. Not for an hour or two, for 10 full days. The last time airspace over a major US city was closed like that was 9/11. But then, just as fast as it started, it was over. So what on earth really happened in those 8 hours of total chaos?
The first official word came from the FAA in what's called a Notice to Airmen, or a NOTAM, and it was just shocking. A total 10 days shutdown of the skies over a major American city. The reason? Just 2 words: special security reasons. I mean, a move that drastic, that's gonna send some serious alarm bells ringing across the country. But then, and this is the crazy part, only 8 hours later, the order was canceled. Gone. The FAA basically just said, you know what, never mind, everything's fine. Now, that didn't exactly calm anyone down. It did the opposite. It created this massive mystery right there on the southern border. And right away, 3 completely different stories started flying around. Was this a huge cartel drone attack that the military just successfully shut down? Was it some kind of secret Pentagon weapons test that went sideways? Or, and you're gonna have to bear with me on this one, was this whole thing caused by a party balloon?
Okay, so to really wrap your head around how serious this was, you have to understand the sheer scale of the shutdown and the absolute chaos it caused for the city of El Paso.
So the official tool they used is called a temporary flight restriction, or a TFR. Now this is a big deal. It's usually reserved for things like the president flying in, or a natural disaster, or a really major security threat. Think of it as the aviation version of putting an entire city on lockdown.
And this TFR was immense. We're talking about a no-fly bubble that was 10 nautical miles wide and went up to 18,000 feet. It completely paralyzed an airport that sees 4 million passengers a year. Local hospitals, critical cargo shipments, even the Biggs Army airfield next door. Everything was thrown into complete disarray. El Paso's mayor, Raynard Johnson, he didn't mince words. He just called it chaos.
You know, an unnamed official gave this quote that just absolutely nails the problem. They said the left hand didn't just not know what the right hand was doing, the right hand was holding a laser and the left hand was holding a grounded flight schedule. That tells you this wasn't just a simple mix-up. This was a total breakdown in communication. The Pentagon and the FAA were on 2 completely different planets, and it led to this massive disruption with zero explanation to the public. By the next morning, though, the Trump administration stepped forward with what sounded like a very clear, very decisive, and frankly, very alarming explanation for what happened. First, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy gets on X and announces that the Department of War had just stopped a cartel drone incursion. Then, almost immediately, Attorney General Pam Bondi uses the incident to start pushing for strikes against what she called terrorist organizations in Mexico. The message from the top was coordinated, and it was loud and clear. There was an attack, and we won. So the administration's story was all about strength and success. They framed this whole thing not as a moment of chaos and confusion, but as a clear victory in the ongoing war at the border. But just as that story was starting to set in, it got hit by a huge denial. Yeah, the official story started to unravel pretty fast once Mexico finally responded. And at the same time, journalists started digging around and talking to sources who were telling a very, very different story. And this just created an immediate diplomatic firestorm. On one side, you have the US government claiming this decisive military action against a cartel threat. And on the other, you've got the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, who sounded completely baffled, saying her government had zero information. And, more importantly, that nobody from the US had even bothered to call them. Her denial just blows a massive hole in the story. I mean, if one of America's closest allies had no idea that a cross-border attack was happening, then what in the world really caused the shutdown? And right here is where the story takes a hard right turn into the bizarre. According to reporting from CBS News, from Al Jazeera, and The Guardian, some unnamed officials started suggesting that this so-called neutralized threat wasn't some sophisticated drone swarm. It might have been a high-altitude party balloon that was just misidentified by some really sensitive military sensors. A party balloon? But hang on a second. A party balloon doesn't quite explain the need to shut down the sky for 10 days. And that's where the third theory comes into play. one that involves futuristic weapons and a massive bureaucratic screw-up. Okay, so let's talk about directed energy weapons, or DEWs. Basically, these are high-energy lasers. Their job is to fry a target's electronics in an instant. The Pentagon has been pouring money into them as a defense against drones, but they pose a pretty serious risk to any civilian planes flying nearby. So according to this theory, the Army was getting ready to test one of these new laser systems right near a civilian flight path. When the FAA figured out the military was about to go ahead without the final green light, they basically slammed on the emergency brake. They issued that TFR to clear the sky and stop a potential catastrophe. And if that's what happened, well, the Cartel drone story becomes a very convenient cover for a massive internal screw-up. So regardless of the real cause, this incident left behind a trail of anger, a whole lot of mistrust, and some really disturbing questions about who is actually in control of the skies over our own cities. El Paso's own Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, she really spoke for a lot of her constituents when she came out and said that the official story, it just doesn't add up. She and a lot of others are now demanding a full investigation into why their city was essentially put under military control with no credible explanation. And this goes way beyond just El Paso. This whole incident has shined a bright light on some new language tucked away in the National Defense Authorization Act. The Texas Tribune reported that a subtle change in the law now allows the Pentagon to act more recklessly in public airspace, basically letting them use national security as a blank check to bypass normal safety rules. And the implication there is chilling. That delicate balance between civilian safety and military operations, it's shifting. And this could absolutely happen again. So after peeling back all these layers, what are we left with? Well, we have three competing stories and a profound, deep sense of uncertainty about what really went down. Was it a real cartel threat that was met with decisive military force? Was it a secret laser test that got covered up with a convenient story? Or was it just a simple party balloon that caused a massive, embarrassing overreaction? The truth is probably some messy combination of all three. A government that's eager to look tough, a military that's testing dangerous new weapons, and agencies that are just not talking to each other. And that brings us to the final, really unsettling question here. In our current age of advanced technology, heightened security, and intense political division, what happens the next time a strange blip appears on a radar screen? Are we going to get transparency and the truth? Or are we just going to get another shutdown with another story that just doesn't add up? So what do you believe really happened over the skies of El Paso? Was it a legitimate threat, a bureaucratic disaster, or something else entirely? Let us know what your theory is in the comments section below. And hey, if you want more deep dives that unpack these complex stories, make sure you subscribe for all our latest updates. We'll see you next time.